All right. Welcome, Miriam. Great to have you here at DIAC a Day. So we're back. We had a bit of a break for DevConnect. We're not quite DIAC every day yet, but we're getting there. So DIAC a Day, just very quickly for anyone who's new, we're trying to do daily sessions on DIAC. What is DIAC, you may ask? So it's a philosophy around defensive accelerationism that was coined by Vitalik in 2023, I believe. He wrote an amazing essay on the topic My Techno-Optimism as a bit of a reaction to the techno-optimist movement and some of the things that were going around. And basically, core premise of it was that yes, acceleration technology is great. It's a good thing. We should want more acceleration and more of these great new technologies, but that we should build them in a defensive way, have a defensive stance. Sometimes not every technology is positive for humanity, or it might be positive, but only with certain protections in place. And so it was essentially a call to action to people to build in a decentralized, defensive, democratic, and differential way. And so what we're doing with DIAC a Day is really just trying to create awareness of the movement and the philosophy of DIAC and bring awareness and attention to the builders that are creating great new apps and infrastructure in the space. And today we have Miriam with us. So welcome, Miriam. Good to have you here. Maybe you can start by telling me a little bit about what you're building and what Meerkat is.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and very impressed by what has come out of the Susalu movement in general and with Switzerland in particular. Yeah, like you know, and it was also used at Switzerland, thanks to an integration. We have been building Meerkat for the last year and a half, so I've been a founder of the project for that time, more in a side project capacity, but yeah, it was very fulfilling. And it came out of an Ethereum hackathon in Berlin. My motivation when starting it was to make privacy usable in social apps and to find out what SDKs are there, who's building something, how usable is it on the client side, how usable are these privacy preserving technologies for a regular Web2 developer, for example. And there we met the ZeroXPark team, who were building ZooPass, which is the credentials manager that also like DEF CON uses for ticketing, and I think Switzerland also, and a lot of different pop-up cities in the DX Susalu movement. And we thought it was very exciting and partnered with them. And what they basically did was create a data format for precompiled circuits for zero knowledge proofs. So that way you had more flexible things you could prove and didn't need to set up a circuit for all different proofs. So that helped us. Yeah, so that was the technology we went with. And what we then built out of it after the hackathon was basically together with the ZeroXPark team and the Ethereum Foundation, or the DEF CON team, was a private, well, let's just call it a privacy preserving or private identity preserving audience engagement tool for now. So it's a Q&A app that's fully open source, so aligned with the ethos. And what it does, particularly also speaking about the democratic part of DIAC, is it lets people who are maybe too shy to speak up at conferences, motivates them to also submit their questions and share their opinions, because everyone is valued. The organizers care about the questions you ask. The speakers sometimes read them afterwards. And so, the app has been used at thousands of talks by now. Obviously, many of them were at big conferences like DEF CON and DevConnect. And also, we were able to battle test it out with the launch event at Edgelana last year in Thailand, and also Protocol Berg in Berlin. So that's what we have been building. And also some teams have forked it because it's open source and have let it run on their own instance for particularly sensitive data, such as Ethereum Foundation internal events, for example.
Amazing. Yeah, I think Meerkat is such a great example for DIAC. It's fairly simple on the face of it as a tool, but has been really impactful it was wonderful for
Oh,
Switzerland.
I'm actually
having
not sure what's happening because I cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. Is it possible your it's possible your headphones might be disconnected. I'll see. Yeah, Victoria, can you hear me? Please nod if you can. Yeah, okay, she can. Yeah, sorry about that, audience. If we'll just need one moment for technical issues.
What happens now?
Can you hear me now?
No, I cannot hear you. Okay.
I'll try.
Can you say something again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
It's not coming through. I'm not sure why.
On and off.
Okay. What happens now?
Can you hear me? Okay, I'll try doing on and off.
Now?
Can you hear me now?
I cannot hear you. I have no idea why. Should we hop off and come on again? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I'll reload.
Go back in, yeah. Now I'm going to put the lift music on.
I can hear you.
How's that? You can hear me? Great. Amazing. No?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was just saying that Meerkat is one of the few privacy apps, I guess, that is just like really easy to use and has been like super available for people at Switzerland. It was great. We integrated it into the app that we built for scheduling events, and it was amazing. So every time that someone scheduled a new talk or event in the schedule, it automatically created a Meerkat link and was therefore then available to the audience to submit anonymous questions. And I think that like it definitely noticeably changes the quality of the questions, and that you definitely get much spicier questions, and people genuinely do feel more comfortable like asking hard questions. So it definitely has a clear impact, and that's something that is great to see. I'm curious, Miriam, like what were you doing before and what led you into the privacy space, and what made you sort of like curious enough to build this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Funnily enough, so back during the ICO times, I was actually running an accelerator out of Berlin, focused on trying to work with the BaFin and try to launch legally compliant ICOs out of Germany, or just token companies. And in that time, a lot of things happened that made me aware of privacy a lot more. Let's say it that way. And so yeah, then I think I took a little break, and when during that time I realized like how infrastructure needs to be set up, how you need to think about your personal privacy, and that the world has also changed in terms of, everyone was on Facebook, it was trusted, but then more people came online. I think when I came online, maybe a tenth of the people that had access to the internet then were online than now. So I think a lot of things just change, and your awareness and knowledge has to change. And I think back in the 2017 days, zero knowledge proofs and a lot of the privacy tech started out as solutions for scaling Ethereum. And then the privacy aspect that concerns every human came a little bit later, the focus of attention, or I guess just now, just as the technology has been maturing and these topics around identity and so forth. So so the ETH Berlin hackathon was just the timing where I thought, this is cool, this is great. There was this game called Dark Forest that played around with it. So I've been watching the ZK space in particular since those days, pretty much, not consistently, but so I thought this is a good time to just play around with privacy SDK.
Yeah. And so you launched it. It's been running for a while. A lot of people have used it. Like, what is the future? Where are things heading for it? Are you still heavily involved in building it, or where are you at?
With Meerkat? Yeah, so Meerkat is open source. There's 2 of us, and it's continuing. It was just used at DevConnect, so I'm super excited to still see it going very strong, and I expect it to go strong in the future as well. So at the moment, in the past, I know that grants are always a big topic, or funding of especially open source projects. We had gotten a small grant from 0xPark. So I'm not sure how exactly the funding continues, because the grants always end and then you need to look for something new. But by now it's become somewhat of an established part of the open tech stack that the DEF CON team wants to have for events infrastructure. So I'm positive that if there's any funding issues, that's one way. And then also, but remains to be seen. But yeah, I expect you to see it again at some conference.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the strong things about open source, is that there's potentially, a life beyond the initial founders, and that things potentially are more resilient, in the sense that if you're not, just because one person isn't maybe building it doesn't mean that it's not being built and continued upon. So there's that like long-term perspective for the products, and can be reused in different ways, which is amazing. I know you have a bit of an investment background. How do you think about open source versus the VC track? Do you see them as mutually exclusive? Obviously some open source, or many even open source startups, are funded by VC. How do you think about that dynamic, and like what has been like your observation of that?
Yeah, I think I'm a huge fan of open source. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. The team has to be really smart about how to go about it, which parts to open source, but there's great examples. I would say even outside of the VC space, like NGINX, for example, that then later got sold for, I don't know, $500 billion. There's companies in the AI space. One is in Berlin called Langfuse. They're also heavily betting on open source, but have a paid model. And so I do see them as very complementary, and also especially with AI coming, I think we all want more efficient processes. We want, MCP servers that talk to each other, that make everything a lot easier than the old APIs. And that goes on a global scale, and for products as well as public goods. And I think you have to go build as much in the open, and secure, of course, still find a business model. But I think to make use of AI and blockchain together, and specific, you have to go there. But also in the sense that a lot of what blockchain's been trying to do after the initial DeFi financial revolution idea is in the public good space. And I think fundamentally, to build better public goods that are also more global than just local or state or nation state bound. That's just a core pillar that I think first principles makes total sense, free from any ideology.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say sort of that VC and like funding via the VC path is kind of polluting for the open source ecosystem, because they use open source as like a go-to-market and then sort of close things down over the long term, and the value keeps like getting taken away from users as soon as they kind of have the lock-in effect. What do you have a perspective on that, or any thoughts in that direction?
Could you ask that again?
Yeah, sorry. So I've heard people say that when VCs get into the open source space, that it can be sort of polluting, or for the wrong reasons, that they kind of the company gets in, they build up a user base, and then they start slowly sort of like shutting off core features, and it becomes like sort of more of a upselling model than a genuine open source project. I just wondered if you had a perspective on that. Do you see it that way? Do you see it differently? Yeah, curious.
I'm trying to think of an example, but for sure, I think when you build anything and you have multiple stakeholders, it's always a challenge to keep them aligned with the core and as long as possible. I think what's been I'm a really huge fan of what potentially might come out of the funding coordination team from the Ethereum Foundation. Because if you don't go the VC route and you work through grants and you have other ways. So I think there's one fund that tries to only invest in projects that take part of their treasury or part of their revenues and funnel them back into some of the open source projects in the Ethereum tech stack, like whether it be Solidity or Nethermind client or whatever. I think that's a cool idea. And yeah, it's a little bit, how do you keep open source funded and going? We saw the Roger from Tor, Onion, speak at DevConnect, and he also says, well, we need funding. So how do you keep something relevant going that's open source? And it's the holy grail of how do you create a perpetual motor machine?
Yeah,
the English term. But yeah, there's really great teams working on this, and I'm very, very curious to see what comes out of it, as I find it super relevant. So yeah, I think the VC's incentive are obviously to make money and returns off of a project, and so that can skew incentives or decision making along the way, for sure.
Yeah,
something to be mindful of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something we've been thinking about a lot with Switzerland, because we're working on sort of ideas for how to make both hubs investable. But the clear model that we landed on for how to make hubs investable was that they should act as acceleration nodes for DAC-oriented tech. And so kind of our thinking a little bit is like each hub, each node should have its own fund, investment fund, accelerator. And that fund should be a little bit like a university endowment fund, where you invest a certain amount of the original capital, but you're also making returns, and that primarily the focus is on doing open source grants and convertible grants, but then some of those projects ultimately commercialize and then return something to the fund. So you're creating that perpetual cycle of funding. But yeah, definitely one challenge that comes up with that is like how you're incentivizing people in a way. Like you do the grant, they're not forced to commercialize or go the VC route, but ultimately, like that longer term funding channel, if you don't get it right, they're kind of may still feel that they're forced to go a route. And so yeah, kind of how do you create alternative paths that don't necessarily make that necessary, or don't force them down the path that you ultimately might not want them to go. And I think it's a much bigger challenge that we won't solve today, but it's definitely like something that we're super excited about exploring and experimenting with and figuring out.
Yeah, no, I think this whole topic of, like you mentioned earlier, or I think it was part of when Vitalik wrote the DIAC manifesto, as a counter position to or as an addendum to the what Andreessen put out to the Techno-Optimist manifesto. Yeah. But basically at the 2008 years, blockchain had a different purpose than it might have now. And a lot of what is happening now, whether it's ZK identities and a lot more governance heavy focus, I think has to do with public goods. And then these are global. And then how do you fund these? It's yeah, we're not going to solve it today. And hopefully we'll find some cool ideas for that that will come out of this team that I mentioned, but or any of the other ones that are working on it. Yeah, because right now public goods are sponsored by taxes. So in a way, that's where some of the inspiration comes from, because they are in a way perpetual as long as you have enough humans in the system.
Yeah.
And productivity, of course, and other factors. But yeah, I'm excited. Also, are you working with any of the other teams on this from Switzerland, or is it more everyone tries to find their solution and then put it together? What's the process like?
I mean, we're definitely collaborating with a number of people. We haven't been working with the EF funding coordination team, but yeah, I'm sure that some of the people that we're working with are overlapping in some way. So yeah, but who you were aware of there that's working on that? Maybe I should reach out.
Oh, I think Vinay is heading it.
Vinay,
we can talk about it offline.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Good to know. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely very bullish on these sort of mixed models at the moment, but it remains to be seen. I hope that we'll be successful in getting a multitude of those things running, because you always need a certain amount of plurality in any ecosystem. So yeah. So okay, shifting gears a little. I wanted to also ask you what your take on DIAC is. Like, you've obviously read the essay. You're in the space a little bit. Like, what does it mean to you? What if you had to kind of sit down and write an essay, like what would be the part that sticks out and you're passionate about?
That's a big question. Different thoughts. Let me start with the one that I think I've spent the first 10 years of my career in Web2 startups, mostly VC funded, only VC funded. So the idea of moving fast in a global economy, software economy specifically, is very dear to my heart. And I would say that I think moving very fast, but also being precise, they're not something to be at odds. And I know that's not the core of DIAC, but I think especially if you have a direction, and velocity is speed with direction, then you can do both, hopefully. And so DIAC is that kind of direction a little bit. So you have values that keep you going in a certain direction or exclude you from certain other paths. So I think that's cool and very relevant to put out values that people can see and check whether they want to align with them. I think the Susalu movement and all the pop-up cities and community hubs are really, really great for bringing people together and testing out things in this space. And I think that also helps, just because everything is so global in this industry, understanding each other better and bringing these people together also helps working towards these values and inspiring each other to try something out that's maybe a little bit different, form your own opinion. I know this is going a little bit philosophical off track, but I appreciate it for that it gives that kind of direction. And I think a lot of great thoughts and projects also can come out of it. For example, I don't know if you saw this Open Silicon initiative, Vensa from MPANG. So I think it's supposed to be 100 million to put towards enabling everybody to design and make chips. Right now it's a scarcity. The processes are gated and highly expensive. And chips are the thing humanity has made the most of. So apparently, and I did not fact check this, but he made a case for it that looked like he did research this, even more than we baked bread. So there's more chips than chips are the thing humanity has made the most of. It just blew my mind. And so yeah, I think DIAC puts a focus on things that this industry can do. So we had like fintech revolution, we had cryptography and privacy technologies, and what else can be done. And I think the hardware, hardware aspect is super interesting. Like the Ucrit Air device, where air quality is measured in a privacy preserving way. I think is super relevant. And so, yeah, I think it's like a springboard. It just springs up different ideas that can be played around with, and maybe also finding out the next direction for Ethereum and blockchain in general. And I think, yeah, the community aspect is something I really enjoy too, that it manifests in these local hubs. I know you know this, but I was part of a global entrepreneurship organization called Cairo Society, and the idea was, imagine the leaders of today were friends 20 years ago to solve the world's biggest problems. And that was obviously a little bit more gated because you had to be at a university and you had to have heard about it and so on. But I thought it was amazing. I think this idea of bringing people together in an open way, exchanging ideas, becoming friends, meeting each other, talking about the innovations of tomorrow and how the world could be, because everything is arbitrary man-made systems. They're made one way, but they might be made another way. There's good reasons for why they are the way they are, but they could be also another way. And I think that's super powerful to have these local hubs where people can go and learn, but also contribute and share. And I'm very impressed by what you set up with Switzerland, with the other ones as well.
Thank you. Yeah. I really resonate with this feeling of like it being given a framework for the things that need to kind of come together and proliferate. Obviously, like having been in tech for 10 years, I have had many of these similar thoughts and feelings, and I think what DIAC has done for me is it's like given that a little bit of like a membrane of like, okay, this is the space, and a bit of a naming to the kinds of things that we're working on, and bringing a sense of collectiveness to the very diverse kinds of projects that can actually improve humanity. So that's what I appreciate that about it. Amazing. So I don't want to keep you for too long, but two last questions. One would be, who should we have on here next? Who's a builder or someone in DIAC that you respect and think we should talk to?
We had a really great collaboration besides the DEF CON team last year with the Fileverse team. And I think open docs just makes total sense. And yeah, I think I'd love to nominate Andreas or someone from the Fileverse team.
Amazing. Great idea. I'm also a huge fan of their work. So very good input, and we will reach out to them. Thank you. And yeah, the last one is just, do you have like a final thing that you want to leave people with? Any Telegram or like handles or social media things, links people should look up? Anything to share there?
Oh yes. So Meerkat is at meerkat.events.
Cool.
And on Twitter, it's meerkatck. My handle is MC and the chemical formula for salt water. I'm not gonna spell it out.
You have to be smart enough if you want to reach her.
MCNACLH2O.
Love that.
Maybe that needs an overhaul. And something to leave. Yeah, I guess. Be kind, look on the bright side. I think the future is bright, and especially if you contribute and help build it.
Amazing. I love that.
So it's an invitation to build. Yep.
Yes. Love invitations to build. Thank you so much, Miriam.
And go to Switzerland.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter event.
Cool. Yeah, it's been wonderful having you. Thank you, Miriam. And yeah, looking forward to see where things go and talk more very soon.
Yeah, totally. My pleasure. Thank you, Ayla. See you soon.
Bye. Thanks.